Cape Samba.
McCoy Mrubata,
You say.
thank you so much for joining me on both sides. Very, very happy to have you. I imagine you've been asked every question about music and the saxophone
For sure, yes.
that
yes.
anyone can imagine.
Mm.
But I would say if you took the saxophone and the flute and everything you know about jazz away, what would you want people to know about you?
That McCoy was once an amateur boxer, and I thought I was going to be a visual artist, Randall, at the age of 10, I just knew I was not an 8 to 5 guy. I'm going to work for myself. And I could draw with tribal at school, making teachers, cartoon characters, fellow students, I was good at art. So until music found me, by chance in 1976.
Would you say it was by chance, or would you say that somehow that intersection was always going to happen? I think, some people try and get away from music, but it has a way of finding them.
True. I'm sure eventually it was going to happen. Yeah. The first bug of music caught me at standard 3 in 1973. I was 13. Played bugle, at school, and then it faded. I was back into art and
Was that in a school band?
School band, a
what
marching
kind of
band.
music? A marching
a
band.
marching band. Yeah. But although that year I didn't succeed in getting the bugle because I loved the sound of the trumpet. So I was stuck with the triangle. That tinkling, that is boring instrument. So that whole year it was miserable. Whenever there's a marching band, But I made sure in 1974 I'm gonna get a bugle, and I did. I was so good in such that I played second part. I was good at it. Yeah, like I say, in 1974, 75. I was into other things. Until 1976. Yeah.
And marching bands and the penny whistle, of course, have an important history in South Africa.
For sure.
But were you listening to music at this time, or was it only what they offered you at school level?
All the time. I come from a family of music lovers, record collectors. My uncles were into jazz. I was so good in knowing that which uncle is listening to what, to a point that, let's say I'm from school, I would hear, later I would know when I was 12, that's Brooke Benton, that's Count Basie. I just knew. And then one of the uncles was into more edgy jazz, John Coltrane, Archie Shepp, Uncle Go. And then the younger uncle loved Hugh Masekela and easier stuff, And then my aunts were into the Supremes, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye. So I absorbed all those sounds at a very young age. And also the street that I lived on was great. Opposite my grandma's place, there was a big band that would rehearse there, as a toddler, I remember in the 60s, I thought that band was magical simply because coming from crash or whatever, I'm there. The next thing I find myself back at home. It only occurred to me later that a band member or a family member, fetch me and, woke me up, to be bathed and eat and, yeah. So it was a very beautiful street, and Louis Muhulu comes from that street. And we had boxing champions, Sydney Ho, Besho Sibaka, soccer players, and the Hoka family, Sikawe Avenue. It was something else. There was no shortage of role models.
So the bugle, you leave that, and what instrument do you move on to? And then at the same time, tell me a little bit about your experiences in 1976.
Okay, yeah, I'm a 16-year-old now in 1976. The life revolves around the struggle, attending, political rallies, and then my free time, I'm sketching at home. I wasn't playing any music. So with a guy called Muyaketsi. Now Muyaketsi had a penny whistle. I didn't take note, just love my drawing, anything from landscape, portraits, abstract. It was just, we loved our thing, During breaks, we'll play penny whistle. But one day, he left it, at home. And I tried it. Whew, Randall, I couldn't believe how beautiful it was. It was massaging my hands. I was like, wow, what is this? It was so nice. And then when he came back the next day, it's still, man, this thing is nice. But somehow when I play it, I don't sound like you. He said something simple, Meg, you just need to close the holes properly. And that was it. My artwork and drawing took a nosedive from that day. I was hooked on this penny whistle to a point that I was just mimicking every song that, on the radio. And then I started following, the late Robert Sitole, a penny whistle player and a flautist, and just playing this. And then I begged my mom to buy me a flute, because I was so good at it. I could mimic any kind of song, And then in 1978, she bought me, so there's enough money, a single mom, to buy me a flute. Yeah, within 6 months, I was in a professional band, Sherwood nightclub, with a band called Fever. Gerald Space Money, all these great cats, an 18-year-old playing with beat people. But then there was a problem. South Africa was still on fire. We're not going to school. So at least we were worried about education, me and my peers. We are enrolled at St. Francis Night School. So my schedule was full at that age, rehearsing with the band. And the audition with that band was stunning. I was told to they heard that I'm a good flautist, and then to bring an LP. So I brought along Heavy Man, Hubert Laws, and Bobby Humphrey. And then I said I could play these songs. They said, no, we'll tell you what to play. So they
Well,
said,
obviously, at the stage, I mean,
yeah,
I'm a bit younger than you, but I do remember the Sherwood. There are two things to bear in mind. Number one, they played lots of covers, obviously, because people wanted
yes,
to dance.
yes.
And I guess the other thing is that we should make the point in 2026 about how seriously the musicians took their job.
Oof.
It wasn't a case of, okay, so we've got to play cover bands, people will dance, maybe they've had a few drinks, so they won't take it that seriously. People actually came to listen as well.
Ooh, exactly.
And
yes,
the musicians would be, all of them would have certain standards and would be quite serious because they think, well, someone like Henry February, the pianist, might walk in and see us play and say, these guys are terrible. And you wouldn't want that to happen, right?
Sure. Talking about that beautiful old man, I once went to an audition. You know, Let me say this first. Whenever I give workshops and master classes, I tell them that I failed auditions. I've got my own failures. Even I once bunked standard 6, Um, Tata Henry February had me playing at Landros Hotel with jam session. He loved my tone. Yeah, and they invited me to his house so they could really check if you knew all the jazz standards. And I went. Said, no, 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 no. You must go practice. You don't know changes. He was, yeah. And I understood. I wasn't down. I just went and practiced. Another audition I failed was with a gentleman called Bruce Cassidy when he had a studio in Cape Town. Same thing. No, you don't know changes. He was brutal because at least I had a good ear. I could read, but by that time I started learning to read. He just put chord changes, said play. I'm like, where's the track? Because I can catch it. Because
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I said no.
E-7.
Exactly, all of that. Yeah. It was at the time. It was hard for me. Yeah. The other one was at 3 Arts with Tali Patterson when they started District 6. At the time, they called it LAT, District 6. His partner was the late, another late great Bestman.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And I failed that audition. But he told me, but I believe you play a good flute, but saxophone, no. Because it was 1979. I was playing with that first band.
So they wanted horn sections, right?
They want, proper horn.
Pop.
Yeah.
It's part of the rhythm dynamic rather than someone playing a lead line.
And also with the band, the flute was kind of disappearing because the repertoire was such that it was the top 20, top 10 of the day, Commodores, this and that,
They had charts that were written.
Yeah.
So you had to follow the chart.
Yeah. No, they played
Sure. But I'm saying there were parts that were written.
Charts, yeah, exactly.
And people, if they went to hear you, they wanted to hear exactly.
Yeah. So, and then I bought my very first saxophone in 1980 because prior to that I was borrowing from people,
So it was a case of, I wouldn't use the word forced, but I would say that there were changes happening in the industry.
Yes.
And in order to continue as a working musician, you had to adapt.
For sure, definitely. Yeah.
And you bought a saxophone new, or you knew some of the players around and you were able to?
Yeah, but a second hand, it's some shop. Yeah.
Saxophone, I mean, you were surrounded, you've told me, you've told us all how old you are. So you were surrounded by Ezra and Winston and you may have heard Kippy at some stage. Certainly in a recorded sense. And Barney.
Yes.
And now I'm only talking about the South African players.
For sure, yeah.
How difficult was it for you to find your own voice, to put your lips around that enclosure and figure it out and say, this is how I'm going to sound? Yeah, because there are lots of players.
Yes.
And you'll remember, I mean, in the 90s, everybody with respect wanted to sound like Kenny G.
True.
So how did you work at finding your own voice?
It took years. I remember playing the flute. The neighbors were okay. But once I bought a saxophone, it was loud. Yeah. And also, as a serious musician, I used to read about building a tone, even besides finding a voice, building a tone. So there's this exercise we do whereby you play one note, long tone. That used to irritate my mom. Oh, McCoy, don't stop fooling around. Play Do Re Mi or a song. I said, Mom, I'm trying to build my embouchure. What's that? No, my tone. I have to do this. So what I will do then, during my practice sessions, I will spend 15 or 20 minutes outside the house and playing the long tones. And then once it's warm, and then start with the fundamentals, the scales and all of that. Yeah.
Because it is so difficult. I read Robert Cray once saying that when he was playing festivals, he'd be on stage with, B.B. King or some other guitar player, and it's so easy to fall into playing like them.
True,
You
true.
know?
Mm.
So working at maintaining your own sound is really not that easy, and it's a journey that only you as an individual can undertake.
Yeah, I only found my voice, to be honest, in Johannesburg, because we're playing covers in Cape Town. I was yearning to come to Johannesburg, because I could feel there's a lot of compositions coming out of me, and I tried to raise money to come here, and by
What year
luck,
was that?
1978. And guess what? I was playing with Lou and the Jive at the time at Good Hope Center. I get a call from my manager saying that Hot Six Mabuso wants me to come to Johannesburg. I was like, oh, I was like, just when I was saving to come to, because.
And he still had a Rari at that stage.
Yes, yeah. The young Harari, with Alec, we were gone, and that was it. That was my chance to come to Johannesburg. Yeah, because my visits here, I could see that they really valued originality, Yeah, back then at home, it wasn't really encouraged, to be original. Of course, we did have Pacific Express, Winston Mankungu doing Yakalinkomo, Buddha Ribbons, had a beautiful song. Where have you been? I've been waiting all over, But
Cool.
That was it,
Abdullah?
Yeah. Of course, our king, Abdullah. Yeah. I played with him too once too at the City Hall. Yeah.
Also
yeah.
a hard taskmaster.
Oof. I remember doing rehearsal for the whole week. We had so many stories about Abdullah being strict, this and that. He was so nice, so beautiful. After every song, there will be a story. And he was, we're like, what are they talking about? He's a beauty.
You got him on a good day.
Yeah. What happened came the day of the show. We could see that is not that Abdullah was at the rehearsal. He was like, and then we all froze. We said, oh yeah, yes, that Abdullah we're talking about, Why come you sitting there, you the lead alto, you should be here, Oh, I think he craves on, he plays better when people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think he had a very, what's the right word, a very fluid personality.
Yeah.
I would also see him on really, really good days, and all he would want to speak about is ikigai or some, Japanese, state of mind that he was into, or speak about those sorts of things. And on another day, but I guess that was the great thing about him, that he led his own life, and that's that's what we're talking about in your case. You said that you'd visited Johannesburg before, but what was the living experience like away from music? Was it a case of bright lights, big city? Because Johannesburg is much bigger, and bolder, and a lot more happens than in Cape Town. How did you adapt to that?
Bright lights, big city, lots of clubs, Yeah, of course, what I loved, just like Cape Town, jam sessions, when you're young, you really want to hone your skills, what you've been practicing during the day, when I try it out, it was all that was, and also that sense I was yearning for, playing my own music, because there were songs were brewing. There was a stage in Cape Town when I left. My second band was Fever. I worked with them for 4 years. It was a great band, but then I couldn't play because there were two camps. I'm a strange person. When there's a atmosphere is not right, I struggle to play. I've done my own session with my best friend Paul Henma, where things didn't go right. It wasn't. I couldn't play, so I left the band after 4 years. And my mom and my girlfriend were, we're not happy. But I can't play. These guys are fighting all the time, And then sadly, I made a girl pregnant. Now I have a kid. I had to find a day job, something I thought I would never do. And I did. And so that period, 1984, almost into 85, it was a nightmare day job. And then I'm still haven't passed my JC, yeah. And I passed it finally, and I have this day job. It was and only playing weekends, And then one day, th- this friend of mine uh, we went to deliver a parcel. I worked for a courier company, so I was what they call a van boy. I used to fight with them. I'm not a boy. I'm not a van boy. I'm your assistant. But anyway, we delivered this parcel, and then this guy talks about me in the car. Hey, there's a guy musician in the car. Um, they were chatting, and it was Glenn Robertson. Yeah, they had a band, Airborne. Um,
Is this in Cape Town or
in Cape Town.
Yes.
I was still in Cape Town.
Playing piano was one of
Sean O'Connor.
Yes, he was Henry's. He was one of Henry's students.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, he was one of Henry's students,
yeah. And then I played with weekends. I started playing again. It was such a relief, until Lou and the Jive, he hired me. And then I was full time once again.
So in Johannesburg, how long did you spend with Sipho Hot Sticks and Harari?
Oh, a year. And then I joined PJ Powers. And the jazz catching, I was already famous, because my mom used to accommodate a lot of musicians that came from Johannesburg. Back in the day, there were no hotels for black people. They stayed in townships, Yeah. So I was known as this great flautist. So Bayete, Teta, all these bands wanted my services, I said, no, I'll be loyal to Brasipo. I worked with him. I finished a full year with him, and then joined PJ Powers. Oh, the kids were even mad. What? Come on, no. I'm here to work, And also, I've always been open-minded, I play everything. I listen, Johnny Mathis. I listen to, uh, you know, all of these sounds, Anyway, and yeah, and the while with PJ Powers, I got a recording deal with Zomba Records.
With is that Clive Calder?
Clive Calder, yeah. When Jonathan Butler and Bill Ocean,
yes, that's right.
Yeah, there's the jazz section was called something jazz jive.
That's right.
Yeah, along with my teachers, Ezra Ngokane, Banera Chabane.
That's when Jonathan did Come Go With Me.
Yes,
in the UK.
Yes. Wow, it was like, and then this talent scout, a blind gentleman, Koloi Libona, said, my son, I love your sound. I want to record you, I want,
And did you record locally or in the UK? Because Clive had a studio in the UK as well.
No, right? Locally at CCP. Yes, yeah. I record locally. And I told him I don't have any songs. And then I said, no, that's sorted, A friend of ours, Cecil Mitchell, had told him about Paul Henma, and he got Paul Henma and the late Jabunkosi to write songs for me. And that's when, Paul and myself, since that day, we've been like this, Yeah, Paul is my brother, so yeah, it was beautiful.
Well, Paul must have moved to Johannesburg at a similar time from Cape Town.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you've got these songs that are written, but you've said earlier that you had music in you.
Yes.
That you also wanted to perform.
Mm.
So when you made that first record, how did you learn, or how did you get information about how to go about, bringing your own songs to birth and recording those? Yeah.
So I wasn't confident with the ideas I had, because from Cape Town, I always have a Walkman or a music pad, I could write music and then I'll sing an idea. I wasn't confident enough to show this talent scout, I always, that's when I said no, but I made sure the second album, I have my music. So it was great. Then the album is out, and then Prakolo Libona said, Now, McCoy, you need to promote the band, the album, get a band together. I said, oh, yeah, of course, these guys are ready. I've been recording with Bakiti Kumalo, Lorenz Machiza, Rashid Lani, Vusi Kumalo. He said, no, he stopped me. No, 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 no. I want you to get even younger guys than you. I was like, whew, Prakar, I only know one person, Jimmy Lulu, He just came from Swaziland. I thought he was from Swaziland, with some other young kids. I only know Jimmy, So, well, get Jimmy to get you other young kids. And that's just what Jimmy did, Lucas Kumalo, Chipa Masuku, Mwezi Zazi, and Lentlanta Magagula, and they stayed at my flat. They were stinking my place, and they struggled, And we formed the band McCoy's Brotherhood. We were so good that there was this competition, Gilliby's Music for Africa. We beat regionally, Bayete, guys from Durban, all over, and got a recording deal. A prize was with the CCP once again, and 25,000 rand, It was a powerful band. Yeah. Hmm. So these are the songs I used to play by ear, mimicking every style of music, being classical, jazz. Yeah, yeah. I still remember those songs.
You're not, obviously, your professional career is
Yes.
around music. So, two things. You spoke about Paul, you've spoken about Abdullah. What lessons do you think you've learned other than musical lessons from the people you have interacted with as a musician? Because I think what people miss is that you learn a lot about life
Yeah.
from people who are musicians, not just about how to play the changes, for example.
For sure. Yeah, I learned discipline, and then in every band I'm with, every person I try to get something positive. When I worked with Stimela, their office environment, professionalism, call times, when you're on tour, before emails, there'll be a sheet, paper stuck under, the call time is this time, whatever, professionalism, um, and punctuality. Yeah. And also the late Super Gumede, when I wanted to buy my first property, he advised me the do's or not the do's, And my first contract with that Zomba record, I didn't take it to a lawyer. I took it to Hot Six Mabuse. He was knocked out how good it was, Hey, Mac, mine is better than this, man, So it was it we're community, there's a music community, advising this and that. Johnny Mekwa, it will tell me about, do's and don'ts with the bond, also insurance, So yeah, there's a lot of stuff, holistically, even outside the music. Yeah.
So, from a timeline, we're about 1990 here. The country hasn't changed, but we're certainly moving towards it. There's a lot of upheaval that's still going to happen. But your career at that stage was certainly taking off.
Yeah.
And the opportunity, I imagine, that came with what they then called the New South Africa, was to perform and travel internationally.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Yeah, it wasn't that tough. My first trip abroad was in 1988 with PJ Powers. Yeah, yeah. And then she and her manager were so nervous. What if we were interviewed? They coached me, answers, if the only black man in the band, yeah, you must say this, yeah. Deep down, I was going to say, thanks God, I was never asked, political questions, but I wasn't going to go with their script, I was going to tell, what, the situation is, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't that difficult. But the weird thing then, coming back from abroad, when you come back home, the apartheid days, you feel the air right at the airport. So, oh, I'm back at home now. It was weird. It was a weird feeling. Yeah, whenever I would come from abroad, and
And post 1994?
even post 1994, yeah, yeah. Oh no, it was a bit better, It was, yeah, yeah, because I did a lot of traveling in early 90s, and at one stage I was with the Hugh Masekela's band in 1992, and Lucky Dube in 1994. Yeah, things were getting better, slowly getting better. Yeah.
What did Bra you impart to you? Other than, again, being a real professional and, wanting a specific sound and being very dedicated to his music, above and beyond that.
We was a health fanatic, Prayu, irrespective of what time we came back from a gig, he did his morning walks. I remember one time in New Mexico, a Olympic size swimming pool. Here I'm jumping there, half a lap, I'm taking a break. Prayu was doing like, I think he did 4 laps. I couldn't believe how fit he was. He could swim. So I tried hard to, to do my walks and, yeah. Okay, what I was good with jogging and sit-ups to a point. To this day, Prahot Six Mabusa calls me champ because I used to get everyone, before the gigs, sit-ups and press-ups, taking from my boxing days, I was into that, but Brayu was more of Tai Chi, swimming, and walk, So yeah, I, and of course, uh, eating lots of fruit. Brayu was a health fanatic, He
Fantastic.
did everything right. Yeah.
So you've traveled, extensively. You've won many awards.
Mm.
What is, and I won't say the one moment, but give us one or two really special moments that when you sit down, as I say, away from the saxophone, it's late on a Sunday evening, you've planned your week, and you look back at your career and you think, that was something that I'll always remember.
Sure. As much as, there was this tour I did with Paul Henma that I'm really proud of. When we were celebrating our 30 years as friends in music, and Paul and myself are able to play a duet in big settings. We traveled. We did tour of South Africa and to the States, giving lectures and masterclasses at Berkeley, UCLA, um, Howard University. I mean, I'm looking back, I don't have a tertiary education except for the courses I did at Damelin later, because I've always worked for myself. I made sure that I know office work, filing, just simple stuff, Apart from that, I never went to university. And here I am, I'm giving workshops, and the professors are amazed by what we have to bring, to a point that in 2017, the Kennedy Center um, gave me an award, a gold award, along with Michael Caine. And, I was like, why me? I don't know how they see the value of my contribution to arts. I don't know. I've never worked at Kennedy Center. The institution that I work with every year is the Lincoln Center. Yeah. At one stage, they asked me to form a band, of South African artists, because there's a guy who discovered South African jazz beyond the big, Yuma Sekela, Abdullah, he found me, and then he started to check other sounds, and then he Sitton Hawkins, and then he said he wanted me to come to do some work at Lincoln Center, but then Winton Masali said, "Why don't you get this McCoy guy to bring other leaders in their own right to form one band?" So I formed this band, Uhadi, with the late Sibongile Khumalo, late Fayafaku, Paul Henma, of course, is always there, Justin Badenhorst, and Hebi Swayede, we will frequent the states and do work, so and that work has opened doors for many others. Nduduzo Makatini, Tandintulu, Bukani Daya, so I'm proud to have contributed in getting the younger ones up there. And Dr. Duduzo now is who, yeah, and I'm so proud of the brother, yeah.
After all these years, when you go on stage or you're in a studio, what still gives you butterflies? Not you personally, it could be you, preparing to go out and play, but it also could be something you hear from another musician. What still, brings life and isn't, with respectfully, jaded after all these years? Because
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen and done a whole lot. So what still piques your interest and picks up your ears?
Sure. Nothing much, to be honest, except my horn mustn't malfunction. Yeah. There'll be times when the horn, it gives you problems, the pad stucks, Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, other than that, yeah, young kids, yeah, they're fluid. Yeah. What we learned in 10 years, that will take us 10 years. With them, click of the button, 1 year, they have information that we gather over 5 years. It's amazing. And these boys are good, But Randall, somehow, when we sit with them, they'll go, I don't know what I'll be saying. But McCoy, how come UCT didn't call you to give us this? I would even forget what I said. It happens all the time. So I'm not surprised at the same time when the institutions abroad, UCLA, B. Berkeley, calls people like us because we have a lot to offer. Remember, Paul will tell me, late Bratali Peterson will tell him, so Curly, you know what? This is university, because he was privileged enough to study at UCT, although he didn't finish his degree then, this is real school. And Paul said he agreed with that.
Yeah.
And then also when
Miles Davis was not a great fan of universities because he said they'll teach you all how to play the same.
Yeah. No.
In your mentoring work, do you only focus on jazz, or are there all sorts of other musicians who come to you for insight and help them to develop?
All sorts, singers, and other instrumentalists, trumpet players, and across the board, and also the ins and outs. They always say things like, "But McCoy, you're always a leader. What?" To be honest, I can't. I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe because I feel safe when I'm in charge, because sometimes leaders, I'm unable to work when the very leader is tipsy or is late. I won't mention this great musician. When I was asked to go with him, to go on tour, I said no, I won't be able to play. Yeah. I never smoked, I never drank. You know, even going back to Cape Town, my Grootman, Bra Winston, Ezra, Buta Rebens, Robert Sitole, you know, I was about to take every jobs because uh, they know that boy, he might not know all the scales or whatever, but if you call him at 8, I'll be there at 6. I've always been like that, yeah, yeah. And the horn will be angry with me. I don't know, it's something was weird. If for some reason I'm late, for me, quarter to is late, and then the horn will malfunction.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was rather watching a really great interview with Lee Sklar.
Okay.
He was the bass player with Phil Collins for a while, but he played on numerous sessions. James Taylor, you Linda Ronstadt, you name it. And he said if the session's at 10 and you arrive at 9:30, you're late. Because again, to your point, the engineers have got to set you up so that when the lead walks in, you're ready. And anything, especially playing an electric instrument, anything can go wrong, right?
True. Yeah, I just like to feel the place, get the energy, I know I'm not good. I'm not really good at, I'm not articulate, but I'm worse when I come 30 minutes, early or 15, I'll mumble, even though I'm not good, but, I try, I'm trying. I'd rather play my.
What in your work with young musicians? I mean, we have to talk about AI. What do you think? What are your considerations about AI, and what advice would you give to young musicians?
Oh dear, the AI situation. They must at least know rudiments of music. They must know, so that AI is just there to clean up,
Assist.
to assist, master this and that, Yeah, like when we just got the auto tuning and this and that, it must work. Not a full fledged song, Just work on your craft, Work on your craft, and then AI must just, to correct, assist, like you say, Yeah.
What are some of the assumptions that people make about jazz musicians? I suppose one of them is that they're late or not on time, or that they abuse substances, but that is not necessarily, it could be as far from the truth.
True,
what other assumptions did people have about you as a jazz musician that you thought you might want to overcome?
How come you always clean? I only grew dreads later. I was always a clean cut guy, And of course, when I'm in the car seat, love my jeans. But when I'm out, it's like you look more than an executive. They want me to be either flamboyant, or ragged, Yeah. And funny enough, when I was learning my craft, I favored musicians who were scruffy and they were deep. Robert Sitole and Edward, they were deep, And stuff that I will ask, I understood 10 years later, like Ezra, or Buta Ribbons, I will ask about breathing, he tells me something, I don't understand it. But years later, oh, this is what Buta Robert Johnson was trying to tell me, Buta B, Basil Kutia, these were all my teachers. Yeah. Although in the 90s, when I was trying to get a name, there was some arrogance in me, I would say, I'm 80% self-taught, I'm self-taught. But then, months later, actually, I'm wrong. Yeah, I might worked hard to study and get these books and hire buy books from abroad. There was this downbeat. I still have a stack of them. Downbeat magazine. At the back they'll advertise good jazz book, patterns for jazz, Jamie episode, the play-alongs, I used to do all of that. But these rugged guys and, all my teachers too, the Schilder family, Tony, Bratoni, McCoy, come jam with us, And I was in a band also with his other brother, Philip Schilder, on bass.
Of course.
Yeah. They will tell me, I will struggle with changes. And then he'll tell me, soft spoken, McCoy, just sing. And then I'll think, what does it mean? Yeah. And then I'll be at home trying to work. I understand what it means, The melody, utilize the notes that in the melody so that you can build your vocabulary around it,
Yes.
Yeah, so...
I won't say who the most talented brother was, but I would say my favorite brother was Richard.
Oh, okay.
And also because he wrote Give a Little Love.
Yeah.
And there's such great changes in that song.
Yes. Ooh.
Yeah. But lots of church music in there, in what they did as well. A combination of church music and jazz in some of those chords, You're going to be playing at the Joy of Jazz.
That's right, yes.
In September. I'm going to make sure that I'm there.
Great.
What other live performances can we look forward to?
Yeah, first Joy of Jazz, I'll be presenting the works from my latest album, Children on the Front Line. Yeah, because whatever I do, I always involve, the young ones, The title came about thinking about the welfare of the children. Yeah. Sorry for adding this.
And when was that album recorded?
Last year in the States, because I go to America every during our Freedom Day 27th, and then I do gigs until May through that connection of mine with Lincoln Center, Jazz at Lincoln Center.
Right.
So I have an American band because the budgets are not big anymore now. You have to have a band, wherever you are, So I have an American band that I call Siabulela. I recorded it there, Yeah, it was last year.
And when will it be available?
It came out in February, I'm busy promoting it. Yeah,
right.
Children on the Front Line. Yeah, and
so which band will we see you with?
The South African, unfortunately, the South African band, Maxwell Baloyi, Shube Kwebulana, in an 8-piece band, eight of us on stage, on the 25th of September. And also, prior to that, I'll be playing at a Hughes place in Braamfontein on the 17th, Thursday 17th. And then in November, at Josie Gold. October, I'm going back to the States to produce this lady and do a series of gigs with her.
Uh-huh. And then any ideas about working with Paul again?
Yes, I had a meeting with him, He said hi, and he always, reminds me that, your parents were teachers, family, and, there's some stuff we're going to be doing, dual stuff again. Yeah. Because the last time we did a full thing was 2 years ago when we went to Switzerland. Yeah, because I ran a couple of projects, the Braska project, the strings attached, where I, because Paul is good with the string arrangement, he gets commissioned to write for symphonies. Paul is an amazing musician. Yeah, that guy. If I write a story about myself, there'll be, episodes about him, Yeah. Although our friendship didn't start, we're both weird, I remember first time I was told to go and learn his songs during that time, I knocked at the door, 2 minutes, it's not opening. Okay, I'm coming. 2 minutes. And then I'm sitting down, So it goes, takes his time, and I'm opening my horn. I'm like, whew. Then blowing my horn, it's like, oh dear, how am I going to work with this cat, And then He's ready now, after 15, 20 minutes, sit at the piano. And then, he has a chart I'm playing. So face your bell that way, I thought, this guy. But then when the music started, everything changed, The first song I learned of him, A Blow to the Head, was so beautiful. So music brought us together. It really brought us together. But I didn't understand his way of doing things, of thinking, Yeah. It's only later that when his wife said, Paul is slow, I didn't take it as being slow. I don't know. He had his own rhythm. To this day, he has his own rhythm. I don't take it as a slow person, because me too, mornings take my time. If I have to be, somewhere at 8, I'm up at 6. And then Shem, my last born, takes after me. If we have to leave at 8, she's up at half past 6, half past 5, Tutu, no, that I'm slow. Shem. Yeah,
I
we
guess
all
you just want to
weird.
take your time.
Yes, exactly.
Get into the day, feel it first.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong.
Mm.
What, and I guess you've been asked this a lot, but in closing, what advice for young musicians? You've spoken about the professionalism.
Yeah.
We've spoken about finding your own voice.
Yeah.
Being an individual. But what other key advice is there for someone who, as a young person wants to enter the industry or just wants to explore music, even if they're not taking it 100% seriously and they don't see it as a vocation?
Yeah, to be consistent. Consistency is the key. The cliche, practice makes perfect. It's not a cliche. Yeah, to this day, I still practice. I still do my long notes. Although these days, I don't have to be 15 minutes, 5 minutes of soft tones to get the warm and to psych yourself up, And to be true to thyself, because these young kids sometimes suppress what comes naturally and want to sound like, I don't want to call American names,
But someone who's had a hit, for example.
Yes. Just be yourself, You you'll be able to add other elements, but be yourself, If an idea comes, sing it through your phones. Phones have voice notes now,
Of course.
There's no Back in the day, if my battery is flat, my Walkman, easy. I always had a pad, write down, the notes. Just to be cool with themselves and then work on the ideas that they have. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us at both sides. It's been absolutely fantastic, and look forward to seeing you live in September.
Great. Thank you for having me. Yeah.